This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, local police and customs crack down on the illicit drug trade. A startling historic find from the ancient world at Otago Museum. Dunedin Traffic Solutions lead the way. Very good evening, I'm Craig Story. Local police and customs officers are cracking down on the importation of illegal drugs by university students. Their combined operation has already seen an 18-year-old local man arrested, and others are being warned of the potential consequences as property is seized for evidence.
The student quarter is the latest area of concern in a multi-agency crackdown on the importation of illegal drugs. 3 search warrants have been executed in Castle Street by Dunedin Police and New Zealand Customs officers, who have made a further raid in Green Island. Chief Customs Officer Kirk McPherson says it's in response to the discovery of several packages of illegal drugs bound for Dunedin.
There was one particular address that we had several imports coming to. We contact the police and speak to them about it and see if the address is known to them, if the residence is known to them. And then we work together on an operation.
The operation's already been touted as a success with the arrest of an 18-year-old man for selling cannabis. Police say further charges may be laid as seized computers and cell phones are being tested to ascertain if they've been used for drug importation. And while Dunedin's the focus at the moment, McPherson says this isn't a localised issue.
It's a nationwide problem, but it's big in the student areas, the Palmerston North type areas, Dunedin. The big universities causing us problems.
Cannabis and ecstasy are the main drugs being brought into the city, although they're not the only ones. Several Class A drugs such as methamphetamine, cocaine and LSD are also being imported. And McPherson says it's students in particular who are getting involved through the internet.
I think it's because the students think at that age they're invincible. It's easy to order it over the net and they're safe because they're not going to the gang addresses, buying it from gang members. You order it at home, you press send on your computer and it arrives in the mail. So it seems like safe. So that's, I think, the students get into it quite a bit for that.
Customs and police want the recent raids to serve as a warning to students. The importation and sale of illegal drugs will lead to jail. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
A priceless tablet featuring an inscription to an ancient king has been discovered at Otago Museum. The stone tablet was already catalogued by staff, but its true significance has only just come to light, and it means Dunedin boasts one of only a few such artefacts in the world.
Otago Museum is home to more than 100 stone tablets, many of them thousands of years old. They've been analysed by researchers as part of an Australasia-wide project. And while most are on the more mundane side, showing tax transactions and livestock movements, one has stood out. It's from ancient Sumerian king Hashmagalshu.
There's 5 known pieces similar to it in world collections. There's 3 that we know about that have a very similar inscription to it. And they're all held in collections in the US, so the Met in New York, Yale, places like that.
The tablet features Sumerian characters and reads, "A gift of Hashmagalshu, a stone slab of the Eker for Enlil, his king." Reeves says it provides a fascinating insight into ancient life in what's now the Middle East, and highlights the importance of an ancient temple.
Eker, it's called, is sort of like the Mount Olympus of ancient Sumeria, so a very important temple. And what he's done, I guess, by rebuilding it, is making an offering to that god, kind of sealing his place as the rightful king of the area.
Reeves says the museum has a wide range of artefacts around the same age as the tablet, about 3,500 years old. But the discovery of this one's significance is especially important, as it emphasises how many treasures are held in the region.
It's not a case of stumbling on it in the corner of a storeroom. We knew where it was. It had an accession number and a record in our database. But until we have those layers of information with the artefacts, their significance doesn't exactly become apparent.
There's no plan to put the tablet on display just yet, but there is potential for the public to get a look at the treasure in the future. David DeLorean, 39 Dunedin News.
A move to establish a second primary health organisation in the area is being considered. The Southern District Health Board has been approached to consider the potential of establishing a second PHO. Well South is currently the district's only primary health organisation. Its board and management staff say they're confident Well South will remain the region's only PHO. Details around the possible change are being kept secret at present. The Health Board's currently under the control of a commissioner and 3 deputies. The traffic industry's movers and shakers are in town and they're discussing future networks. They're part of the National Traffic Institute's annual conference, and they say Dunedin's leading the way in certain respects.
From road rage and speeding to fatal accidents and cycleways, it's all being discussed this week at the Dunedin Centre for the annual Traffins Conference. About 180 delegates are in town representing every aspect of the traffic industry. And Traffins Vice President John Gottler says Dunedin's an appropriate venue for talks on transport.
I think you're ahead in several areas around the community areas. If you go out through the peninsula, your tourism work, your city centre, your student, and dare I say it, your rugby stadium, those are great initiatives for communities to sort of rally around.
The conference involves local council staff tasked with overseeing the city's roading network, as well as the region's top traffic police. And Gottler hopes Dunedin delegates get just as much, if not more, from the conference as visiting representatives.
Well, I'm hoping that the Dunedin people especially are going to not only pick up on what the international world's doing, but also demonstrate some of the great things they're doing as well.
He says it's important the city's specific transport issues are addressed in a locally suitable way.
Local government solves local problems, not someone sitting in a glass house in Wellington. The reality is you can't have one size fits all. Communities are all different, and we need to create systems that fit communities.
The conference theme is Transport Futures and the changing face of transport. But Gottler says at the end of the day, it's all about safety and sustainability.
Digital change of motor vehicles is going to make a big change as we move to electric cars and smart cars and all those sorts of things, but clearly we want to save some people's lives.
In the last 18 months, New Zealand slipped in OECD rankings as far as road deaths and injuries. And everyone involved in this conference wants to change that as soon as possible. Rosie Mannins, 39 Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News. Sad news from Mosgield's oldest rest home, and we'll discuss the fatal link between diabetes and heart disease.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Are you within your legal rights to take one life in order to save another? Welcome to the ambiguities of law. Because whilst the law may be clear, there is still room for both yes and no.
What? No!
The decision will depend on logical thinking and the art of argument. And this is what we learn at New Zealand's first and world-renowned law faculty.
You can stop now!
I'm Latafale, and this is my place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
Discover New Zealand's most innovative museum, Toitu Otago Settlers Museum. 14 stunning galleries, 3 distinct architectural styles, and a million intriguing stories are yours to discover at Toitu Otago Settlers Museum. Open daily next to Dunedin Railway Station and with free admission. Toitu Otago Settlers Museum.
For 30 years, Southern Clams have harvested New Zealand littleneck clams in the coastal waters of Otago. Hand harvesting to order at the right place and time ensures perfection of every clam you eat. New Zealand littleneck clams, harvested for you by Southern Clams.
Hedges are something we almost take for granted. A good hedge needs regular maintenance to look its best and to add value and character to your property. For all your hedge care needs, call the team at SGC Services on 0800 783 453.
Wake up time and another frantic day ahead for Haraway's Oat Singles. With 3 delicious flavours in each pack, they don't last long with this family. They're so convenient and tasty, and they're ready in seconds. Haraway's Oat Singles are the ideal breakfast or snack on the run for today's busy families. And there's a flavour to suit everyone. Beat the rush and make sure you get your favourite flavour. Haraway's Oat Singles. Try new Kiwi Favourites Caramel Variety Pack.
A lifestyler to me is a person maybe wanting to escape the hustle and bustle of a big city, wanting some animals, maybe able to grow their own veggies, have chickens, get their own hens. A lifestyle block can be your supermarket. Just a good way of living, and a lot of people enjoy that rather than being in a city. A very sustainable way to live.
Welcome back. A long-running Mosgiel rest home is closing, putting more than 20 people out of work. The Maranatha rest home has been operating since 1959, and its board cites huge compliance costs as a factor in the business closure. Residents and their families were told earlier this week the home will be closed around the end of October. There's currently 18 residents, although almost 30 can be accommodated. The Southern District Health Board is responsible for rehoming the residents. And on that note, let's take a look at today's financials. A bit of a tumbling day with the NZSX down 20 points today. The Australian market seems a little bit stronger. No change across the Dow Jones, and a bad day at the FTSE. The Nikkei, 158 points and change. And across most of the currencies which we follow, small declines across the board. The yen making the only small significant gain. University of Otago researchers have discovered why heart disease is the #1 killer of diabetics. The study was led by Dr. Rakesh Katare, a senior lecturer at the university's Department of Physiology, and I'm thrilled to have you here in the studio here, Doctor. This link that you have found between diabetes and heart disease, would you explain the model and how it works?
Yeah, so we know that people with diabetes are prone to develop heart disease, but what we didn't know is when they develop and how they develop. So we used an animal model of type 2 diabetes to identify when actually they developed the heart disease. So we followed up these animals so at regular intervals and took some samples from them, and we found a small protein called Beclin-1, which actually regulates the cell death, is increased enormously in the diabetic animals.
So you found this?
We found it.
This is extraordinary. How did you make this link?
Yeah, we used this, the animal model was one of the good extraordinary models. So when you take this animal model looking for the proteins, we looked at several proteins which control the cell survival. So one of the key protein was this Beclin-1. And this protein seems to be increased enormously.
So this is a symptomatic, a marker, which you can now examine.
The interesting thing is this protein changes before the patients develop any symptoms.
So this is an early warning.
Exactly. So you can't, at the present, the clinicians don't have any clue how to diagnose the disease before the patient develop any symptoms. And if this marker is going to change, this could be a sort of diagnostic marker.
This is significant. How is this? It's a little hard to tea leaf at the moment, but the significance of this is better treatment for diabetics. Is that right?
We hope so. So before going to the better treatment, we would say we would be able to identify the disease first, much before. So that gives the clinicians more wider opportunity to treat the patients.
So in a broader sense, like how many diabetics will die from heart disease, the relationship?
So if you look into the statistics which is released by the American Diabetes Association, so 2 in 3 people of diabetes die of heart disease. It's almost more than 60%.
Goodness.
Every year.
So this is a significant discovery for you?
There's a significant discovery.
Worldwide?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. What's the next step in this process? You've got time, what do we do?
That's a very good question. So we also are collaborating with the cardiothoracic surgeons at Dunedin Hospital, who are so kind enough to give us some tissues from the human patients who are undergoing bypass surgery. So these tissues are usually routinely discarded. So we collect these tissue and then look at what's happening within the heart. So that would actually translate our bedside finding to bench. In fact, we have done some samples, but we need to increase the number of sample size.
And you're going to need funding to support this ongoing research.
That's one thing. We need to thank some of the funders like Lottery and Heart Foundation, Otago Medical Research Foundation, and the university's funding, which supported this study. So from now on, we are going to supply to the more bigger funders like Marsden or HRC and the Heart Foundation to get a big project grant.
Very significant development, Dr. Ritesh Kothari. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you
for
so
coming.
much.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, a suggested pool site upset some Mosgiel residents, and all shall be revealed with the weather forecast.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all-black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special, 0800 502 402.
Big Orange, for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street. Big Orange, for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
It has no arms, no legs, has a drill in its mouth up to 8 hours a day and still never complains. It's one of 72 mannequin torsos in our new $3.8 million dental simulation lab, the first and only facility of its kind in New Zealand. My name is Nikki Rose Coltolaro, and this is my place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
Moving around the corner, overseas, Best Removals Otago Limited, specialists in household removals and business relocations, as well as packing, materials, secure storage. Best Removals can do it all. 0800 266 834.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Tune into Girls Talk on Dunedin Television, where we show you what's hot in Dunedin.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product, and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Here's something else to look forward to sinking your teeth into every weekend with the Otago Daily Times, the Weekend Mix, your guide to what's hot in fashion, entertainment, food and more. New weekend magazine in your ODT. Pick up your copy this Saturday.
Oh, a lifestyler can be anybody. We look at a lifestyler as someone who perhaps has been a farmer and is retiring into a smaller block. It could be someone who's working here in Dunedin and has a few acres at home. It could be mum and the kids with the pony on an acre. You know, it's anyone that's got a little bit of land rather than just the quarter-acre section.
Welcome back. More than 300 public submissions on the proposed Mosgiel pool site are being analysed. The City Council's earmarked 4 possible locations for a new swimming complex, and a clash with existing assets is upsetting some residents.
Mosgiel's set to boast a multi-million-dollar new swimming pool complex. The project's a collaboration between the City Council and a specially established trust, and steering group members are trying to nail down a preferred site.
So obviously there's the existing pool site. We then have 3 different options that are associated with Memorial Park in Mosgiel. So one was identified by the Trust in their original feasibility study, and that's actually on the Memorial Gardens.
Another's adjacent to the stadium on the car park, and the 4th is beside Reed Avenue. The call for feedback on those sites has elicited a large response, something McTavish and others involved in the project are pleased with.
So we've had 312 submissions, which is great. It's a really good level of interest from the community. There's a wide range of perspectives articulated in those submissions, and they flag up a range of issues.
Some residents don't want the Memorial Gardens to be compromised for the sake of a new pool, and there's even been a group established to prevent any further development of the town's green space.
And then there are a range of other sort of more subtle issues around things like traffic and access.
Now it's a case of sorting through submissions, considering residents' wants and needs, and shaping the project accordingly.
The process from here is that we'll make a recommendation back to staff, and that will be canvassed in the report back to committee early in October.
The council's earmarked about $6 million for the project through its long-term plan to accompany a community fundraising effort, with the ultimate aim of improving amenities for Mosgiel's growing population. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
The playground of a local primary school is about to undergo a $27,000 transformation. Pupils have been involved in the design process for the project, which has been many years in the making. And with the last bit of community funding secured, work's finally set to begin.
The 23 pupils of St Mary's Kaikarai will soon have brand new playground equipment to swing on. That's thanks to a number of community grants and school fundraisers over the past 18 months. And Principal Richard Duffy is pleased with the combined effort of everyone involved.
We consulted our community to see what the need was, and secondly we sort of broke down and thought, what can the PTA do? And through the school and the PTA, they raised as much money as they could, and just the grants on top of it, we didn't expect to receive as much, but I think because it's used a lot by the community, we're really heavily supported by the funding agency, so it's superb.
Duffy says staff have worked tirelessly to raise as much money as possible over the fundraising period. And now, with the hard yards done, they have a sizable chunk to play with.
Our PTA worked really hard to get some funds together. They raised a fair amount of money in a quick amount of time, and grants supported us the rest. So we're absolutely thrilled to have access to $27,000 as we stand to build a fort and adjoining slides, so it's wonderful.
Duffy's particularly looking forward to the new slide, coming at a cost of $14,000. It's currently being fabricated in central Otago, but work on site will be undertaken by local firm AJ Grant. And the pupils, who are set to benefit most from the new facility, have also had a hand in its design.
Well, I think for the pupils it's wonderful because initially they built wee Lego typecasts of what it would be like. So to see probably that something they probably produced as a group is going to turn out is very exciting for them. I think some of the younger ones can't quite believe. They look up on the bank and open their mouths and think, well, what's he on about? But I think when it's here, they'll be very happy.
Contractors are scheduled to start work on site in early spring, meaning these guys won't have to wait too much longer for something new to play on. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. Local police and customs officers are cracking down on the importation of illegal drugs by Dunedin University students. A rare ancient Middle Eastern tablet inscribed to a king has been discovered amongst Otago Museum's collection of artefacts. And road safety is being discussed at one of the country's largest annual transport conferences taking place in the city. And now let's take a look at what's happening in tomorrow's Otago Daily Times. Good day, Phil Summerfield.
Yes,
what's in the ODT?
Yes. Well, our fantastic courthouse. We've now uncovered a report which said it could have been made safe, not completely redone, but made safe for $2.5 million, and instead the authorities spent $7 million to put a temporary courthouse up in High Street.
That
so
makes
exhilarating
reading.
And another story that we've been all over, it's important again, City Fleet, more about that to read in tomorrow's paper.
A story that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Absolutely. And a nice story about the Clinton community. They've done it before, and then this year, even despite the pressure on rural areas, they've raised another $80,000 for the rescue helicopter.
Wonderful.
From a very small place. I should mention sport. There's a lift out tomorrow, and there's more details about this plan for the Southern Hemisphere champions, the Highlanders, to pay the Northern Hemisphere champions Toulon in Hong Kong in February next year.
Very interesting. Always a good read with the Otago Daily Times. Phil Summerfield, thank you so very much indeed. And it's time now to have a look at our weather.
Proudly brought to you in association with Silberhorn Sportsville.
And starting with today's City View, it's after school football at the Kaikorai Valley College. Around the city, it's 10s across the board. Not bad. Let's have a look at our situation. A ridge of low pressure crosses the South Island tomorrow, bringing a cooler southerly flow for the weekend. And the forecast for the main South Island towns, for the lower South Island: Invercargill showers, northerlies 14, Gore showers later, variable winds 12 degrees, Tainao gusty westerlies, showers 11, Alexandra gusty northerlies, rain is expected at 11 degrees. For Queenstown, rain and 13, Oamaru easing northerlies 13, Wanaka and Twizel easing northerlies, rain is expected and 13 degrees. Here in Dunedin tonight, cloud is increasing. More cloud tomorrow. Low of 4 tonight. Tomorrow, rain scattered at first, dying out. Fresh nor'westers easing, a high of 10, a low of 7. And for Saturday, sou'westers, a chance of rain, a high of 10, a low of 6. And finally, to the Southern Clams tidal and fishing information. Tides, low tide 10 a.m, high tide follows 3:40 p.m. Fishing is good. The best is 11 after midday. And that's Thursday's news, weather and sport from the good men and women of 39 Dunedin News. On their behalf, I'm Craig Story. Good evening.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.